For this and for all of my discussions of the reading passages on the SAT, be sure to have your official SAT study guide in front of you. We'll be working from the second edition of the College Board's Blue Book, and we'll be looking at practice questions related to all types of reading passages. Hi there. In this video, we'll be talking about reading passages questions that I call except, not, and least questions. These questions are not super common on the test. You can expect to see maybe one or two on each SAT. These questions will often look something like this. The author mentions all of the following in the passage except. Basically, these are reverse questions from the normal types of questions that you're used to doing. They're not asking you what the author does talk about or what the author's tone is, but rather what the author does not mention or what his tone is not. These questions can often be difficult because in a sense they are basically 5 questions in one. You need to look at all 5 of the answers and go back to the passage to determine which one the author does not mention. A couple quick tips here for except, not, and least questions. First of all, and this is the biggest thing, underline the word except, not, or least. In the question, it will actually be all in caps, and so you should be able to notice it pretty easily. But although this is true, many students forget that they are looking for the bad answer and rather pick one of the 4 answers that does show up in the passage. So make sure to underline the except, not, or least to keep yourself on track and make sure you know what you're looking for. These questions can be specific or general, and they can cover any of the other topics that we've discussed on reading. They can cover technique, tone, specific subject matter, or general concepts. Just like most other reading questions, you must look back at the passage to try to find each answer. Unlike other reading questions, if an answer from an except, not, or least question is in the passage, it's wrong. We're looking for the one that does not show up. Let's have a look at a sample except, not, or least question. Go ahead and grab your official SAT study guide and flip with me to page 524. Here on page 524, we're going to be looking at the second to last question, question number 23. It says this: all of the following cases of yawning can be accounted for in the passage except. Well, what we need to do is go through each of the 5 answers and see if there is support for them in the passage. Let's look at answer A. Answer A says a student yawns during a lecture on a boring subject. Do we have evidence from the passage that yawning can be related to boredom? In fact, we do. In line 13, we see a mention of yawning caused by boredom. Let's cross off answer A. Answer B. A musician yawns before taking the stage for a very important performance. This answer seems to relate yawning to stress or anxiety. Do we have proof for that in the passage? If you look back at the passage in line 29, the author states, yawning can also be a sign of stress. So let's get rid of that one. Answer C says, an airplane pilot yawns to clear her ears during takeoff. Looking back at the passage with me, take your time here, I think you'll agree that we don't see an example of yawning to pop your ears. I'm talking to you from the Colorado mountains here, and I definitely yawn to pop my ears all the time, but it just doesn't show up in this passage. So there's a good chance that this is the right answer. Answer D says, a person at a party yawns after those around him begin yawning. Do we have proof for this answer in the passage? Well, if you look back to line 38, and I'll quote here from the author, he says, there is also a social aspect to yawning. Meaning, if we see other people yawn, we tend to yawn ourselves. Let's get rid of D. The last answer, E, says, a researcher yawns while reading a scientific article about yawning. Does the author connect reading about yawning to yawning itself? In fact, he or she does. In line 43 and 44, we see this quote, even just reading about yawning tends to stimulate people to yawn. So we've basically gotten rid of A, B, D, and E, and the only answer that doesn't show up in the passage is answer C. Therefore, that's the answer to this except, not, or least question. Hopefully that clears up some of the more complex aspects of these questions for you. Thanks for listening.